All right, guys, it's John Moore here with the Texas College Football Show. We're having another preview show, and this time the UT El Paso Miners, or UTEP. Everyone knows UTEP. And joining me from out there in El Paso is Zay Galindo. And Zay, tell everybody who you're with. You cover the team and who you're with and what you do.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on, John. I'm Zay Galindo. Some people know me as UTEP Zay. I cover UTEP sports as a whole, and I'm affiliated with 600 ESPN El Paso. It's the local sports radio station out here. So thank you.
Yeah, this is fun. I love to do this. I want to go over UTEP. What are they in the ACC this year, or are they Conference USA?
Still Conference USA. Still Conference USA. Just for this year. They move to the Mountain West next year.
Next year, we're moving over to the Mountain West. We want to get in. So what we're going to do, there's 13 Texas college schools that play FBS level or CFP, meaning that UTEP, if they were to run the table, do well, they could play in the college football playoffs coming out of Conference USA if they could get an at-large bid or something like that. That's what I've always said, that Texas football is the best football in the country, no matter whether it's at the college level or it's at the high school level. A lot of talent comes out of the state. But I'm pulling for all the Texas schools, but we're going to talk about your UTEP Miners there. And are you a big fan of them also and get to cover them?
Yeah, I absolutely love them. Even though, at times they're a little disappointing. It's a dream job getting to cover, one of your favorite teams. So, yeah.
Okay, well, so let's talk about the coach that's come back. He's coming into his second year right now. Now, guys, when you see this number up here that comes up, so I did a top 13. I did 13 coaches. I counted them down. No indication, even though Scotty Walden is at the bottom of this list right now, it's not because I don't think Scotty Walden's a good coach. He's coming into his second year. He was last year, what was he, 3-9 last year? In 2024, he came over from Austin Peay out of Tennessee, where he was 24-16. Tell me about Coach Walden. Have you had a chance to meet him?
Yes, I have. I've talked to Coach Walden a couple of times, and the big thing that I you can notice about him off the rip is he has so much energy. He's so hyped up, and that's rare to see. He doesn't look at the downsides of working at a school like UTEP. He's an optimist. He's always going to look on the brighter side, that glass half full type of mentality, and I think that's what UTEP needs because he's just so young and energetic that he's just absolutely rejuvenating the program.
Yeah, and Scotty is he is an offensive minded coach. Is that right? He's more that does he call the plays, or is he just what's he do there? I know he's an offensive guy.
Yeah, he calls the plays. He said it before that he's an offensive minded guy. I mean, he really only stands at a good 5'8", 5'9", maybe on a good day. But I mean, this guy played football everywhere. I think he said it himself, like he was like the definition of what we see now. He played at 3 different colleges in his playing days, and he just loves football, man. You can tell that he was a quarterback, so he has that quarterback kind of mind, and he works with the quarterbacks really closely. So yeah, he calls the plays, and he has no shame about it. I mean, he tells everybody that he's the offensive play caller.
Yeah, and it's interesting about Scotty Pay too, I'm sorry, Scotty Walden too. Like I said, he came over from Austin Peay where he was 24-16, and we're going to talk about a guy that came over with him because the quarterback battle. But we're getting into that a little bit later. He is listed, I think, and I have not confirmed this, that they claim that East Texas Baptist University at 26 years old, in 2016, he was the youngest college head football coach ever in 2016, and he went 7-3 there, and then he left to become an offensive coordinator at Southern Miss in 2017. I still got to confirm that, but hey, he's been coaching a while, and that's good. He's got some skins on the wall.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around the world, not around the world, but around college football a little bit, right? He started off there, and then he ends up at Southern Miss. He was the interim there, and then of course he lands a job at Austin Peay. So it's been a bit of a ride for Scotty. But the big thing about him is I think he's really into the state of Texas. He loves Texas high school football in the state of Texas. He recruits the state of Texas, even, the last coaching staff and coaching staffs in the past. When they come to UTEP, they fall into that stigma that, okay, we can't really recruit the East Texas guys. We can't recruit the guys from the DFW. But, I mean, Scotty Walden, he'll go out there and he'll offer a 4-star out of maybe Duncanville or a 4-star from, a Tuscaloosa, anywhere. He's not afraid to recruit the state of Texas, and he's done that exceptionally well.
Yeah, and we're going to get into it a little later on the transfer portal. He's done pretty well too, going there. This was a pretty easy one for me. I don't know if any of y'all saw this. I did a coach's seat. Let me put the chart up here, and I did. There's a hot seat, a warm seat, a cool seat, and then a cold seat. If you read what they are, a hot seat, the coaches that are put up or shut up, that's it. Or a warm seat, you're probably hearing some grumblings. I have Scotty Walden on a cold seat. I think that Scotty Walden he's coming into his second year. There's no reason that they're looking to fire Scotty Walden right now. It sounds like after that 3-9 last year, that he had a good off season coming back into this thing. Would you agree with me? You think his job's pretty safe right now?
Yeah, I think he's definitely on the cold seat. 3-9 at UTEP is, honestly, it's not good anywhere, right? But at UTEP, it's like, okay, that's the norm, right? If you went 0-12, then yeah, but 3-9 at UTEP is different than 3-9
In
anywhere
your
else.
first season. Everybody
Yeah,
forgets this, and I always say this when a coach comes in his first season. Look, he didn't get to recruit that full year. He didn't get his players in there. He doesn't get to go to the transfer portal and try to hit those guys on that because he's just taken the job. Usually, when is he taking that job? Early, right before spring. I mean, it's usually after the first of the year you're getting there, or maybe it's in December, depending on when that job's opened up. So you're behind on recruiting and behind on that. So he took the players he had. He went 3-9, but he did come into you know what? Before we get into the offensive side of the ball, let's look at what they actually did last year. Last year they were 3-9 overall. They were 3-5 in Conference USA. I tried to pick out some notable games. You might can help me with some other ones you might think of. The win at Florida International, 30-21. Kennesaw State, who they beat 43-35, and of course New Mexico State, which is close to El Paso out there. I know that might be somewhat of some rival. I don't know if they're a rivalry at all, but I thought that one was big because New Mexico State's the bordering state there. Any big ones you think of last year that were some key wins or losses?
yeah. I mean, they a lot of their losses were close. I mean, I think 4 of their losses were decided by. I mean, a combined. They were decided by a combined 24 points. So
Oh,
UTEP was
wow.
in a lot of games. Yeah, that's why there's so much optimism when it comes to Scotty, is because they were a play or two away from maybe even getting to a bowl. And then, yeah, I think the biggest win, of course, is the New Mexico State win. It's a big rivalry. Las Cruces is it's about 40 minutes away from El Paso, so I don't think there's many, FBS college rivalries as close to each other as UTEP and NMSU. So it was a big one, right? It was on the road. UTEP hadn't won there in a while, and I mean, they closed out the season winning 2 of their last 3. It was big for them to win those games, and yeah, I think you got it perfectly right that those 3 games were probably the most notable of the year for them.
Okay, so when we go into this, and obviously he is an offensive-minded guy, we're going to go over some offensive guys, and I want you to tell me about some offensive guys, returning starters, or coming in. But we're going to get into that first. First, you've always got to go into it's the only on the defensive guy. We're not on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not going to target a certain position or a player. I'm going to let you tell me about it. But on the offensive side, everyone's going to talk about the quarterback. Quarterback is the one that runs this team. In right now, I think there's been mentioned 3 names, but there's actually really 2 that are kind of on this list. You got Malachi on the. Let me get my list here together. You've got Skylar Locklear, who came over from Austin P, and Malachi Nelson, who, guys, this was a former 5-star recruit that ended up. He was initially an OU recruit, then he ended up committing when actually Lincoln Riley did not. He left Oklahoma, went out to USC. He changed his mind, went out to USC. He's from California. He was there for 1 year. Then he went over to Boise State and lost out on a job there. He was in a battle there at Boise State. And now Scotty Walden convinced him to come out here to UT El Paso. I'm sorry. If you're a 5-star, you've got talent. Now it's a matter of your coach putting it together. Tell me what you think about the quarterback position. Is Locklear, he started last year a lot of the season. Is this Malachi's team, or how's it going to go, you think?
It's going to be interesting, right? Because last year we had the quarterback battle with Scotty coming in, and it was between Skylar Locklear and then another guy from who's been at UTEP for a while. His name is Cade McConnell, and he's still there. He's still somewhat in the battle, right? But like you said, it's probably really down to those two guys right now. And Skylar has the edge because look, he's known Scotty, right? He was with him at Austin P. He came with him to UTEP. He struggled to begin the year last year, but I'll tell you this much: Skylar Locklear really put it together down the stretch. He looked really, really comfortable. He suffered a couple injuries midway through the year, but he came back stronger. He came back better, right? But at the end of the day, he was not something that's going to blow you off the paper, right? And that's why they went out and got a guy like Malachi Nelson because look, like you said, the 5-star talent is there, right? The arm, it's undeniable. You see it on him, but he does need to put things together, right? He needs to be a harder worker. He needs to kind of put his ego down, right? And
Right.
that's a lot of things that you read online with these 5 stars, and chances are it's probably true. So he needs to put it together here at UTEP. And during the spring game, I'm not going to sit here and lie. Skylar Locklear outperformed Malachi by a whole lot. He looked a lot more comfortable, but at the same time, Malachi was only in El Paso for about a month, and then we hit the spring game. So it's could be a
Sure.
completely different story now, right? So we'll see. I know that Scotty wants to name a starter earlier, so he'll probably name one. If I had to say, maybe in a couple weeks, right? Because he said last year he made the mistake of leading it up to that first game, and it may have rattled Skyler. So he wants to name one earlier. And honestly, look, at the end of the day, in the world of NIL, the amount of money that they're paying Malachi Nelson compared to everybody else, you kind of have to give him the starting job and make him lose it, right? And
Right.
if it goes off the walls, then it goes off the walls, right? You got Skylar there, but if
Right.
it goes right, you have a 5-star back there that can really really sling it.
Yep, and it sounds like if Malachi wins that job, like you said, there was I didn't realize there was some NIL that came in, and that's good. He's getting paid. But if he does lose the job, you got a guy with experience backing him up, and it's not just somebody sitting there that's going to the deer in the headlight looks is what I like to say when you got a deer in the headlights. Let's go to returning starters. Are there some returning starters coming back you really want to highlight or point out?
Well, yeah, I think the wide receiver core is going to be really really good, and dare I say it's going to be among some of the best in Group of Five. I mean, they have 3 returning starters on that wide receiver core, and they're all really 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 electric. And the number one guy is Kenny Odom. He was a big play machine last year. I think he had over 700 yards, and he was just he's a smaller guy, but he's so fast. He's so fast. He's so quick. And you put that guy on a go route. There's not many guys who can keep up with him. And then in the slot, Jaden Smith, he suffered a torn ACL early in the year, and it was tough because he was an FCS guy. I think he came from Eastern Kentucky, and he really lit it up there. So they're
Yep.
excited about him. His rehab has gone really really well. So he's going to be a big part. And then the number one guy that they're really really high up on is Cam Thomas, and he is another guy. He came with Scotty last year from Austin P. Dealt with some injury issues throughout the whole year, but he plays the position of minor back. That's what they like to call it, and it's
Uh-huh.
basically a hybrid of a running back and a slot receiver. Because this
Okay.
guy, he is so quick. Man, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. He's like 5'7", but man, this guy can move. He has great hands. He's really good with the ball in his hands. He's a great punt returner, and he's like a gadget player for them. They're going to put him all around the field. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes wildcat snaps throughout the year because he's just so electric
He's
with the
got that
ball.
much talent. Wow.
Yeah, and they're really excited about him, and so am I. So that whole wide receiver room is really really good.
So any impact players that you see coming in? Like I say this, I'm a UT guy. I didn't go to UT, but my son's going to be going to UT, and I'm a UT fan. You look at someone like a Colin Simmons, who was not technically a starter or a returning starter, but he's going to be impacted to start this year. Any guys last year that saw a lot of the field, they're going to be starters this year that are going to make an impact. And because I want to get into transfer portal later, we'll talk about some guys coming in from the outside. But guys that really saw some playing time last year that you think will step up and make an impact.
Well, yeah, on the offensive side, it's going to be those guys on the offensive line because I'm not going to sit here and lie. That offensive line, it got scattered during the offseason. They lost a guy to Mississippi State late. They lost some guys to graduation. So, they're going to have guards, Ivan Escobar and Joseph Mediato. Those two guys weren't technically starters last year, but did get a lot of reps. They're
Right.
interior guys, so they know what their job is. They're both seniors, and they're both really, really going to need to step it up because those are the projected starters this year. They've gotten snaps before, and they're really going to need to step it up because they're basically the only returners on that offensive line.
Okay. So how about anybody? Let's move to the defensive side of the ball. We're going to come back and hit transfer portal in a little bit. On the defensive side of the ball, who stands out? So maybe some returning starters before we get into who you think will be a star. But who are the returning starters that are coming back?
Yeah, there are two big returning starters I think this year are in the secondary and their safeties. Xavier Smith, he came from Austin P as well. He's a converted quarterback, actually. He played at Colorado as a quarterback for 1 year, didn't work out there, transferred to Austin P, switched positions, and he's really found his home at safety. He's really, really physical. He has good coverage skills, but man, I mean, this guy can hit. He can hit hard, and he racked up a lot of tackles. His PFF grade was pretty good too, so he's a big, big piece of that defense this year. And then alongside him is Lance Russell. He was a breakout guy last year. He didn't really play much. He was at UTEP as a JUCO guy with the previous coaching staff, and he just found his way on the field. He's a hard worker. Scotty loves him, and he played really, really good in his time there. He started, I think, the final 6 or 7 games, and he made the most of it. So those two guys will lead the defense.
Okay. And any impact players that saw some playing time and weren't starters that you think are going to step up and be starters this year that are coming back?
Yeah, I think a lot of they signed a really nice class in Scotty's first year, I guess year zero, when he really didn't get to recruit a lot.
Right.
He hit the ground running, right? And he got a really, really good class in, and there's a couple of guys that will step up in there, and one of those is Stratton Schufelt. He was the #1 player in New Mexico. He comes from Rio Rancho,
Yeah.
and he's really, really good. He's really fast.
Is he
He
a
has
linebacker, right?
Yeah, he's a linebacker, yes. And I don't think he redshirted, but he didn't play every game, or he might have. I think he might have, but he didn't start every game. But they're gonna lean on him a lot, and I'm excited to see him because I mean the time that he did play, he was all around the field. He was all around the ball, and that's a big thing when you're a linebacker.
Absolutely. Okay, it's time to go to the transfer portal. What do you see? Who are the impact players? You can start on offense, then go to defense. Go to offense first. Anybody that transferred in that I know every team loses and y'all lost some offensive linemen and stuff like that. Who came in that you think, you know what, this was a good pickup. This guy might step in, and maybe you saw him in spring ball, and or something like that. You're like, this guy looks like this was a good one.
Yeah, I think the big one that I don't think a lot of people are talking about him either. His name is Hassan Wilson. He's a transfer from Charlotte. He's a running back. He had I think it was about over 500 yards rushing last year there, and he's really, really good. I mean, we saw him in spring ball. He was running all over that defense, and he just looks he runs upright, which usually isn't a great thing when you're a running back, but he's just so lengthy that it just works for him. It works for them. He has quick cuts, and I'm gonna be really excited about him when it comes to that running back position because last year, they had Javon Jackson who transferred to UAB, but I wasn't impressed with him. I think
Yeah.
that with a better running back, that system could have been so much better, and I think they have that better running back now, and he's someone that I'm really, really excited about. That's my big one on the offensive side of the ball.
Okay, let me ask you this. So what kind of an offense does Scotty run? Is it a run and shoot? Is it a, they've got all the different kinds. Is he a throw it around guy? Is it a balanced offense? What's he run?
He likes to run a lot of RPOs. It's RPO heavy. He'll get the ball out quickly. It relies on that quarterback having, knowledge of the offense. So
Right.
whether he's gonna,
Making his reads.
yeah,
Yeah.
making his reads, and if it starts all the way at the bottom, it starts with that run game because if they can set up a good run game, then it's lights off from
E-
there.
Yeah, everything falls off of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you set up his plays, and once they get into a groove, they like to take shots. But we didn't get to see that a lot last year. We didn't get to see that at UTEP because they struggled offensively. So they need to put it together. Scotty promises they're gonna go quick. He loves to go quick. He loves to run the ball. He loves these short plays that set up eventually the deep shots.
Okay. Now on the defensive side, any transfer guys there that came in that are going to be impactful that you saw that are like this guy's we needed this. This is good to have.
One of them is Garrett Hawkins. He's a linebacker from Austin P. He stayed there actually last year. He played for Scotty when Scotty was there, but he decided to stay loyal last year, and he's just really good. He had about 35 tackles last year, only one for loss, but he struggled with injuries. In 2023, he was just really good. He had 15 tackles for loss. he's really electric. He's big. He's about 6'3", 230, and he
Yeah.
moves like a guy. He moves like a running back at times. I saw him on the tape, so I'm excited about him. And they brought in some guys, in the secondary that I'm excited about. One of them, I need to get his name. Oh, Therese Reed. He's from Grand Valley State. He appeared in 40 games, and I know Grand Valley State, they're a really good D2 program. So a lot of their defensive guys come from ranks lower than FBS, and that's the big
Sure.
question. Can they make that jump? Because they have the stats. Sure, you can have the stats at Grand Valley State, but that's not going to matter when you're one on one against. They're playing at Texas this year. That's not going to matter. This isn't
Yeah.
Grand Valley State anymore.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works out for them, but they're hit or miss. I've seen. They bought in a lot last year, and a lot of them were hit or miss. So we'll see what happens. But I'm excited about a lot of the transfers they bought on the defensive side of the ball because they're all mature. Most of them
Yep.
are grad senior guys, and this is their last opportunity. This is your FBS
And some of
opportunity.
them get to play at the FBS level, and that's great to end their career playing at the FBS level. Let me ask you this: who is the defensive coordinator, and what kind of a defense does he run?
Well, last year they had JJ Clark. He was really, really good. Fans fell in love with him, but he ended up leaving for the Dallas Cowboys, honestly. And that was a big loss for them because their defense was one of the best in Conference USA despite their record. They were an electric defense. You don't hear that a lot, but
Yeah.
they led Conference USA in sacks. They had the two best sack leaders, and they just made big plays. And obviously they gave up big plays, but it was a fun defense to watch, and they replaced him with Bobby Daly. He comes from Montana State. So, he led them to an FCS national championship appearance. And I'm excited about him too. We don't know much about what he's going to run. We know it's going to be somewhat similar to JJ Clark's. I think he ran a 3.35. So we'll see how it works out because that defense, if things don't go right offensively, they're going to be on the field a lot. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
excited about Bobby Daly, but I'm cautiously. I don't know what to expect.
Well, and I've said it all along. Everybody puts the pressure on Arch Manning at the University of Texas. Arch Manning just needs to be so if that defense can play like they're capable of playing. That's what wins you championships is that defense. You can outscore, you can score all you want, but if you can't make a stop, it's like baseball. They call it a shutdown inning. If you go out and score some runs, you need to shut them down when the other team comes back up to the plate. So let's get into the schedule. Now, before I make my prediction, we're going to get in here and look at what there is. We'll talk about key games, trap games, what you think they'll do. Let's get into it now. They're going to open the season August 30th. They're going to be at Utah State. UT Martin, of course, they're going out to UT. I think we pencil in that one probably as a loss. But what do you see here? What are the games that you're marking or put a check mark besides that are important?
I think that game one against Utah State is going to be really important. They got a new coach, the Aggies did, and we're playing up there. UTEP playing in Logan, so that's going to be a big game because we'll see how good UTEP really can be, right? You're throwing them into the fire. It's a road game, first game of the year. I think that Louisiana Monroe game, right before conference play starts, is going to be big because, yeah, like you said, they're gonna go to UT and probably it's going to be a tough game for them, right? How are you going to
Yeah,
bounce back? How are you going to bounce back? You're hosting a Sun Belt team at home. Louisiana Monroe, historically is not good, but they've been on the come up, so it's going to be a tough game for both squads. And then
sure.
I think every conference game is going to be important because almost every conference game is winnable. Maybe besides Liberty, UTEP avoids Western Kentucky. They even get to host Liberty, right? And
Yeah,
I think it's a big thing because look, Conference USA is not that good. So all it takes is a couple of big plays or a couple of
sure.
big players to turn the tables, right? To get that win. So I think every conference game is important to me.
Okay, so what's the best case scenario? What do you think happens this year?
I think the best case scenario is, they win 8 games. That's the best case, maybe even 9 if they're lucky. But, if all goes to plan, right? Maybe Malachi ends up being that guy for them, right? That
Yeah,
offense stays healthy, the offensive line puts it together, and the defense does its job. I don't see why they can't win 8 or 9 games, right? Because it's not a hard schedule per se, but
what a
it's everything needs to go right. Everything needs to go right.
worst case scenario, what do you see?
Another 3-win season, right? They
Yeah,
can't figure it out at the quarterback position. The offensive line really doesn't end up coming together, and that defense struggles at times, right? And I think it's easy for a team like UTEP to only win 3 games. And you look at that schedule, you might want to UTEP fans want to maybe pencil in Missouri State or Delaware State as a win already. Those guys could easily end up being better than UTEP. NMSU can easily be better than UTEP, and it's UTEP at the end of the day.
Yep.
3 wins is more than a possibility every year.
Yeah, and Missouri State, you're going up there to Springfield. That's where my oldest son, goes to Missouri State. They're making the jump up this year, so that should be a win. I saw them play his freshman year. I went up there and went to a game. It's a big jump and a big ask. But let's go into my prediction. You tell me where I'm wrong or right. I have them making a bowl game. I got them going 6-6. I do got Utah State as a win. UT Martin. I think. The Texas game will be a loss. And I'm not saying they can't play the Texas semi-close, but the talent level's different. They're on a different level. That's just easy to say. I do have the Liberty loss. I have them losing to Louisiana Monroe and at Sam Houston, but it's also winnable too. Jackson State, they're picked to do well in Conference USA, and then Delaware's picked to do pretty well. Some of those losses in conference are winnable games. There doesn't seem to be, from what I've read, a team that sticks out that they think is just going to run the table. Maybe Liberty. Liberty's getting a lot of pub.
Yeah, I agree with this prediction. I mean, there's nothing that I'm looking at that's like I'm saying that's blasphemy or anything. Like, this is a solid prediction. I can see this playing out exactly the way you have it. Because it's a really even conference. Like you said, there's no one team that we're looking at besides Liberty that is for surefire going to win nine or 10 games, right? And
right.
That's just how Conference USA is now, right? Everybody's on the level playing field. For the most part, NIL around the conference is about the same. And it just depends on, hey, can you hit on these newcomers? Can your returnees get better throughout the offseason? And that's a big question for everybody. But I like this prediction.
Yeah, and I tell you what, and I've seen I go through different media outlets to see what they're kind of picking, what they're looking at when I try to make an informed decision. I don't just go in and go win, loss, whatever. I'm looking at, what are other people picking or what do they think, and then read up on each one. But I've seen some that had UTEP winning 9 games. Thinking UTEP might win. They think this second season with the offensive mind of Scotty. I would love to see it. I want to see Conference USA. I want to see somebody from the state of Texas win Conference USA. And UTEP, I've always been semi-fan of Babe Laufenberg's big there at UTEP with the loss of his son there. And I know he's really into it. Goes out every year, I think, doesn't he? And comes to a game. And some of the old players that are alumni go meet him there. Have you had a chance to meet him?
I have, Babe. He's been he's been a huge part of the program, and they have a nutrition bar dedicated to his son Luke, and he's been really, really big. He's been big for the program. He comes, like you said, every year, and I think UTEP fans have they've grown attached to him as well because he's just such a big part of the program now.
And rightly so. Luke went out there to play ball, and by the way, cancer sucks. Let's just talk about it. I say it all the time. It's just but it just hit Luke, and just like that. I mean, it was over. And Babe, just what a tribute to him. And I love it. I think if I was in Babe's shoes, I would be going back every year too, adopting those kids and putting into it, because UTEP put into Luke, and he's going to put back into UTEP. I think that's fantastic. Zay, listen, buddy, you know your stuff. So what's your plans now? Guys, this is one of our only guys this is our only guy that's a high school guy, right? Is that right? You're a senior?
Yeah, well, I just graduated actually.
Where are
Yeah,
you going to
so
school?
we're gotta stay true to UTEP. Gotta be UTEP today, and I'm excited. I'm already I already want to help out in any way for the program, and whether that's the football side, basketball side. I want to be part of the media. I have some experience. I've been doing this since I was 16, so I understand the ins and out. I'm getting there little by little, and being on your program, it was fun. I love talking UTEP football, man.
Well, I tell you what, Zay, and I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. I do this on the side. It's not my full-time career. I'll tell you what, you have taught me about UTEP football. That's why I wanted people that know that each team. I know about college football. I love watching college football, but when it comes down to certain schools, I need somebody on that can tell me about the schools, what to watch for. And it's interesting. Now that I'm on the way watching some UTEP games this year, I'm going to know these guys. I'm going to go, I remember when Zay would tell me about that guy. Also, every Monday when I do my countdowns, it's going to shuffle around. I haven't landed yet on how the first 13 are going to go that first week, but it'll move around with wins and losses and how that goes. But there'll be big games that are coming up, and there might be a time when they're coming up, and I say, you know what, Zay, let's jump on here and let's preview this game that's coming up and what we need to see and all of that. And I hope you're going to be working with the team or trying to with the media there on campus. Is that what you're going to study?
Yeah, I'm gonna go into something with journalism, but I'm always free to hop on and talk about some UTEP football. So I'd be 100% down.
That's great. Zay, I really appreciate it. You are an impressive young man, and boy, you know your stuff. And I see a big future for you in media, whether it's there in UTEP and in El Paso or even somewhere after you get out of school. I see something for you. You know your stuff, you carry and you speak well, and you described everything perfect, Zay. I'm really impressed.
Thank you so much, John. I had a blast on here. Thank you.
All right, guys, that's Zay Galindo. For Zay, I'm John Moore. Till next time, guys, we will see you at the gridiron.